The General Hospital recap features Spencer freaking out as Trina Robinson decided to take charge. In this episode, Trina Robinson shocked Spencer with her presence on the haunted star. Liesl was also shocked to see where she was and who kidnapped her. Nina, Sunny, and Scott deduced that Victor had Liesl, and Laura realized Spencer was in as much trouble as his baby brother. Drew and Carly were tasked with telling Willow that she probably won't be getting any of that coveted bone marrow. And finally, Diane did a job for Sunny and got the info that he needed. Now let's dig a little deeper into the details. Trina, Tabiana Ali, continued to listen in on Spencer, Nicholas Alexander Chavez, and Victor's conversation and heard Victor announce that none of them would ever be returning to Port Charles, and that included Ace. Spencer refused to agree to Victor's, Charles Shaughnessy, plans, telling him he had a life in Port Charles, one that was starting to actually get good. Victor remained cryptic, telling Spencer that he would learn his true plans in good time. He then had Ambrose lock Spencer in his stateroom. Finally, one of Victor's goons brought Liesl, Kathleen Gaddy, to see Victor in the dining room, where Liesl demanded to be let go. Well, Liesl wasn't having it, as Victor explained to her that he was going to finish the job that he and Mikos started 40 years ago. When Liesl lunged toward Victor, it gave Trina a chance to run and find Spencer in his stateroom. Needless to say, Spencer was stunned to see his girlfriend, but also horrified to realize he'd put her in danger. She admitted she followed him to the haunted star because her instincts said he was in trouble. Trina also surprised Spencer by telling him that Liesl is being held captive as well. At this point, both Spencer and Trina were freaking out, but Spencer was not even going to attempt to escape without Ace. Trina reasoned with Spencer that his power-mad freak uncle would never hurt a baby, but Spencer didn't care. Trina then tried to convince Spencer she was the best person to sneak around the boat and see what Victor was really up to because nobody knew she was there. Trina promised Spencer she would be careful because he couldn't get rid of her that easily. With that, the pair kissed, and Trina took off on her mission. Back in the dining area, Liesl realized she was in real trouble when Victor threatened the lives of everyone she loved, including Scott. Liesl assured Victor that his latest scheme would blow up in his face like all his other insane plots. Mina took it upon herself to tell Scott, Kin Schreiner, that Liesl was missing, and they were going to have to find her on their own since the authorities weren't being much help. Sunny tried to remain optimistic about finding her by tracking her devices, but it seemed logical that Victor had that covered. Scott was sure that Liesl was trouble and reminded them about the time Victor had him thrown from an airplane just to get his hands on Liesl. It finally hit Mina and Sunny, Maurice Bernard, that Victor was behind Liesl's disappearance. Deanne Carolyn Hennessy approached Robert Tristan Rogers at the hospital and tried to get him to open up about how he was feeling, but she soon got called away to see Sunny. Dante, Dominic Zampragna, then updated Jordan, Tanisha Harper, and Robert on the events of the night and informed them that Liesl was also now missing. Robert knew immediately that Victor had to be behind Liesl's disappearance. He then headed to the Port Charles Police Department to talk to the goon who followed Lucy. Lynn Herring, to the Metro Court, but Diane soon showed up to get info out of him on Sunny's behalf. Later, Diane confirmed for Sunny that Victor took Liesl and the rest on a not-so-3-hour tour aboard the haunted star. Dante and Laura, Jenny Francis, paid Esmond Avery Kristen Pohl a visit to update her on the search for Ace. When Dante showed Esmond the security footage from Laura's building, she identified Victor's goon, Ambrose, as the man who took her baby. Esmond wondered why Nicholas, Adam Huss, would have her baby kidnapped, but Laura told her this was Victor's doing, not Nick's. When Esmond saw that Laura couldn't reach Spencer, she wondered if he had helped his uncle take Ace. Laura insisted that was impossible and informed Esmond that she believed Victor had taken Spencer along with Ace. Esmond decided she could not keep Ace safe in Port Charles and told Laura she'd be leaving town as soon as she got her baby back. Laura tried to talk her out of it, but all Ems wanted was for Ace to come home. Sunny, Jordan, and Dante had a confab at the nurse's station, and Sunny wondered if Nicholas's disappearance was also related to Victor, but Dante didn't think so. However, Sunny was more determined than ever to bring down Victor no matter what. Drew, Cameron Matheson, and Carly, Laura Wright, walked into the gatehouse on a mission. they had to deliver bad news to Willow, Catelyn McMullen. Liesl vanished and nobody could find her. They explained what happened with the magic act, and Carly came to the conclusion that Liesl was kidnapped. Surprisingly, Willow thought of Maxie, Kirsten Storms, and Nina's, Cynthia Watrous, worries rather than herself. Carly was stunned that Willow would be thinking of others at this time, insisting Liesl would be found. After all, Sunny was in on the search, and that was enough for Carly. Once alone, Michael, Chad Duell, tried to be a support for Willow, thinking she would feel angry and defeated. But all she wanted was to be left alone and enjoy some hot chocolate and whipped cream. When Michael went to the kitchen, Willow finally broke down over her sad situation. Michael then returned to see a devastated Willow on the floor, telling him she was so close to a cure, but it was taken away from her again. The General Hospital recap features Laura Collins gearing up for action so she can rescue her grandsons. In this episode, Laura and her friends touched down in Greenland as Anna and her friends realized what Victor was really up to. Then, the wrong person overheard a conversation about it. Carly was questioned at the Port Charles Police Department, but the feds let her go thanks to Sunny and Diane's help. Willow wondered why her mother-in-law was hauled away from her wedding by the SEC as Michael made accusations and worried about the pikeman shipment all at the same time. Now let's dig a little deeper into the details. Laura, Jenny Francis, Drew, Cameron Matheson, Curtis, Donald Turner, and Valentine, James Patrick Stewart, arrived on some snowy terrain in Greenland and tried to figure out where to find Victor's, Charles Shaughnessy, underground bunker. Curtis insisted that their goal should not be to bring down Victor, only to rescue his hostages. When alone for a few minutes, Laura tried to recall her life before the Cassadines when she was barely out of her teens. She pointed out she was Trina's, Tabiana Ali, age, and now Trina was involved in another Cassadine destruction of humanity mess. Laura even informed Curtis about the curse Helena, Constance Towers, put on the haunted star in her life the day she married Luke. Thinking about all this made Laura more determined than ever to rescue her grandsons. The foursome then had to brace themselves when Victor's goons were in the area. Of course, Valentin dropped his gun, and the guards were suspicious when they heard a phone start to ring. It was Holly, Emma Sams, calling at the exact wrong time with a warning. Apparently, nobody looped Jordan, Tanisha Harper, into what was going on once again with the haunted star case. She kept calling Curtis and couldn't reach him, which left her wondering what was really going on. She couldn't manage to reach Laura either, making her all the more suspicious. When Dante mentioned that Drew was missing, Jordan knew she'd been sidestepped again. At General Hospital, Holly paid another visit to Anna's, Finola Hughes, hospital room as they worried that the WSB would not believe them that Victor is going to use a bioweapon. Anna told Holly she called in a favor for that, and the next thing we knew, Andrew Maddox, Anthony Montgomery, was standing in front of them. He had some files with him that detailed the weather machine caper back in 1981. Jordan then popped in and was surprised to see Andrew. She knew immediately something was up, and it had to do with Laura, Curtis, Drew, and Valentin's little disappearing act. Anna apologized for not telling her what was going on, and Jordan was livid. Anna did her best to convince Jordan that they needed to rely on Laura and her team, and was forced to tell her about Victor's weapon of mass destruction. Holly then realized Victor was planning to end civilization. As everyone read the WSB files on the Cassadines, they realized Holly was right and finally figured out what Victor was up to. Anna and Holly explained who the Cassadine brothers were as individuals, pointing out that Victor truly believed he could fix the world. Andrew hit the nail on the head when he decided that Victor was trying to reverse climate change. Upon a further look at the files, Anna discovered that Victor had a virus that could wipe out 80% of humanity. An alarmed Andrew insisted the WSB should not be called lest the WSB blow up the entire island to contain Victor's weapon, thus killing their loved ones. When Jordan and Anna were alone, Jordan mentioned how people would panic if they learned Victor had a bioweapon. Her timing was great because Scott, Kin Schreiner, was right outside the door and heard everything. Before Scott made it to Anna's room, he spent some time with Portia, Brooke Kerr, as they worried about their loved ones. Portia once again vowed to never let Trina near Spencer, Nicholas Alexander Chavez, again once she was rescued. At the PCPD, Diane Carolyn Hennessy was on hand as the SEC agents questioned Carly, Laura Wright, about her close relationship with Drew. The agents had a photo of Drew and Carly hugging, and Diane claimed that a hug was innocent for two extended family members. Carly refused to tell them anything about Drew's whereabouts, so the feds promised to keep her for 24 hours without charging her. They at least let Carly get some coffee, so she was able to see Sonny, Morris Bernard, and Joss Eden McCoy, both of whom were worried sick about her. Carly was later told she could go home when the SEC located information about Drew boarding a flight to Maui. Carly and Joss soon figured out Sonny was behind that setup. When she questioned him, he said they were still family, making both Joss and Carly look a little uncomfortable and guilty for the way they have been treating this man. Earlier, back at the tea house, Willow, Caitlin McMullen, still looked fantastic for a dying woman, but worried about her new mother-in-law. Sonny explained that the SEC got a tip that Carly and Drew engaged in insider trading. Willow smartly wondered if Michael was also in trouble. Sonny explained that the SEC didn't think Michael knew about Carly's stock purchase, so Michael lied when Willow asked him if that was true. When Sonny left for the police station, Michael gave a confused Ned Wally Kurth a very dirty look. Willow then felt dizzy to remind us that she had stage 4 cancer, so Michael sent his unsteady bride upstairs to lie down by herself. Once Willow was out of the room, Michael accused Ned of being the one who called in the tip. Ned denied Michael's accusations, telling Michael that he didn't know him at all if he thought he could send his mother to jail while his wife was dying. Ned had a good point, but Michael wasn't buying it. Brooke Lynn broke up the argument, and Willow wondered why Ned and Michael were fighting at all, but didn't question Michael. After Carly called to tell him what Sonny did, Willow tried to point out to her new husband that Sonny stepped up for him. Finally, Dex, Evan Hofer, spent his time in the warehouse getting ready for the pikeman shipment when Brick, Stephen A. Smith, showed up to have a talk. Brick let him know he was right there watching and questioned Dex about Sonny's recent shootout. When Sonny called to ask Brick for a favor concerning Carly's plight, Dex took the opportunity to discreetly plant a small camera in the room. Just as the pikeman goons arrived, so did multitasking Sonny.